Hey everybody, just wanted to create a quick video that walks you through at least a potential source of problems with your stereo system, at least with Burmeister, and it may be the same for the Bose system, but I had a couple open circuit errors that I was getting consistently, and wasn't sure exactly what the root issues were, and so dug into it, checked out the connection with the amplifier. That didn't seem to be the issue, so I took the door panels off and started poking around and found the issue, and have successfully fixed the issue with one of these speakers. So here's a second one that still needs the fix. And so the two speakers that were effective in my system were the front right and the rear left, so diagonals. I have already fixed the one on the front right. It's the exact same speaker as this one here, which is from the rear left. And so wanted to walk you through something at least to check. Certainly no guarantee that this is going to be your issue if you're getting that same open circuit error. But certainly something worth checking. And it's a relatively easy fix if you are at least somewhat able to do some what I would consider to be very basic soldering. So here's the front of the speaker. Let's go ahead and flip this over. And let me get my multimeter out. And I will say I am not a YouTube video maker, so this is not going to be anything fancy. No fancy editing. Just showing you hopefully something that will help you resolve this issue if in fact you're having it. So the first thing that I noticed when the speaker was in the door was that the plug, these were not getting good connection, so they are not continuously connected. So I've got my multimeter over here. I'll just kind of pull it in the shot. So I've got it over here, and I'm just checking for continuity. And so I'm going to put it on both of these posts, and you can see nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so there's a break in the circuit somewhere. Okay, so if we lay it down, okay, we're going to go ahead and check these from, we'll just go top to bottom. Okay, so just, again, checking for continuity. Okay, so there's a break somewhere within the circuit up to this point. Now if we go down below, these should be good. Okay, these are good. Okay, so there's a break somewhere in one of these four solders. So best I can tell anyway, this wire coming out of the speaker is soldered to the bottom. This is a plastic piece here, but the ends here are metal. And so I don't know if this is one continuous wire. I think they're soldered together. So there's a solder here, and then there's a solder here that it butts up to, making the connection, and then the same thing over here. So now let's check these wires to see where the break is. Okay, so we do get continuity there. Okay, we don't get it over here. Okay, so this is where the break is. There's a break somewhere where these two ends are soldered together, and that's ultimately making it so that up here with the plug, we don't have a closed circuit obviously when the plug is plugged into the outlet. Okay, so this is the primary issue. Now I am going to, just to prevent this from becoming an issue on the other side at some point after I fix the first side, I'm going to go ahead and fix both of these. I'm going to go ahead and replace both of these. And let me dig through my toolbox here, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Then I will do it, and I will show you the end result. But doing a little bit of research here, one of the pro hacks is actually to use a braided solder wire to bridge from one side to the other. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut about I don't know, ultimately it'll probably be about 2 inches long, 2.5 inches long, stretch of braided solder wire, and I'm going to connect one end to this lower wire, the other end to the upper wire. So I'm going to solder those two together, and then I'm going to just affix it loosely. Okay, so you do want to have some slack here. You want to have what they call a slack loop in both of these sides. Reason being is because this thing produces a good bit of bass, a good bit of vibration. And so if these were tight wires on both sides, you actually increase the risk that you loosen and ultimately those connections fail. Okay, so you want to create slack loops in these so that they can actually move with the vibration. So connect one end here, make sure there's slack. I'm sorry, I'm telling you wrong. I forgot how to fix this. So I'm going to connect the braided solder wire here to this wire, and then I'm going to run it all the way to the prong. Okay, so I'm going to take out this wire entirely. Okay, and what that does is it takes out one of the connections, one of the potential fail points. Do the same thing on the other side. Make sure there's slack between the bottom, so where it comes out of the speaker, and here, and that there's slack from this crossbar to the prongs. Okay, so I am going to just affix the braided solder wire to this plastic piece here just to give it some stability, but then again want to have slack on either side of that. Okay, so that is the plan. Now, I didn't say this, but what I'm going to use to affix the solder wire to that crossbar is a couple things. Let me just dig through my tools here. So of course, I'm going to use just a little bit of solder, and I didn't do this on the first speaker, and I wish I had after the fact, so I'm going to do it on this one. But I'm just going to use a little bit of solder just to tack it very lightly to the crossbar. Okay, and then what I'm going to use is this electronics grade silicone adhesive. Okay, and this is one of the best things you can use because it's silicone, so it's going to keep it watertight. It's adhesive, so it's going to adhere it to this crossbar, and it's electronics grade, so it's not going to actually interfere with the signal in the wire. So that's the ideal solution, but I do want to put a little bit of solder on there just to make sure that it's secured and it doesn't come loose, and then we'll put some adhesive over top of that. So that should be permanently affixed there, no matter how strong the woofer is producing vibration. Okay, so that is the game plan. I am going to go ahead and stop the video and do the soldering because I am not a good enough solderer to be able to make a good video while I'm trying to actually do the soldering. So I'll pause it and then I'll come back and I'll show you the final product. All right, so fast forward, and I have gotten everything soldered up. Again, I am an amateur solderer, if that's the word, so don't judge me too harshly on the solders, but they certainly look to be making solid connections, so they should function fine, even if they're not pretty. So a few things to point out. So I did put some aluminum foil, and I did this on the first speaker that I did, but put some aluminum foil inside the speaker underneath where I'm working, just in case some of the hot solder ended up falling down. I certainly don't want to burn a hole through the speaker, and then all this hard work would be wasted. So I would encourage you to do that just to protect your speaker. But then you can see the solders between, again, use this solder cleanup braid. I don't know what the official term is, but usually you use these to soak up your extra solder, but they're perfect apparently for this type of bridging, solder bridging. And so you can see I connected that on each side to the speaker wire coming out of the speaker, those really thin wires down at the bottom, all the way up to the prongs. And then I just tack very lightly down onto this bracket. And then what I'm going to do, I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to go ahead and cover that with silicone, electronics grade silicone adhesive, put over both of these tack points here. Now you can see that they're flexible, right? So on either end, I've got these slack loops built in so they can flex a little bit as the vibrations come through the speaker. I did use a little bit of flux to help increase adhesion between the wires and the solder. Jury's still out as to whether or not I like that much, and I may not be using it exactly right, but it seemed to help a little bit anyway. And then, you know, your handy dandy tweezers, and these actually came with the soldering kit, so just a very basic soldering kit that I've got here. And that's pretty much it. So last thing to do is I'm going to put that adhesive down, let it dry for 24 hours, and then reinstall it. But I will do, just for the sake of proving that we have resolved the issue. So again, I got the multimeter here in continuity mode, and we're just going to go directly to the plug. If I can make contact with the two prongs in there. Okay, so we've got a continuous connection. So again, everything is connected. It's going to get rid of that open circuit issue, and the speaker will be functioning as normal. All right, hopefully this is helpful to someone out there who may have those same error codes about an open circuit in your subwoofers. All right,